morning.
Good morning.
Dear members and friends, we as members of the Benevolent and Protective Order of Health are here to pay tribute of affection and honor to our beloved brothers, Marinus Dominic Cetani, affectionately known to us as Dom, who has passed through the shadow into everlasting peace. At this time, we should pause in thoughtful review of the principles we uphold. The faith we follow teaches us to live in bonds of charity with all mankind, to do justice to one another, raise the standard of human excellence everywhere. Brotherly love is the torch that sheds light over the whole pathway of life. Fidelity inspires us to be true to one another and to treasure the memory of the departed. Please rise. Lodge Chaplain, you will lead us in prayer.
Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, we come to thee, the source of our common brotherhood, and humbly ask thy blessing upon this service. May the passing of our brother inspire new devotion to the fraternal duties entrusted to our keeping. May those who mourn be comforted by thy tender love and mercy. From the darkness of this hour, lead us into the sunshine of thy presence. As thou art with us through life, so bring us at last where we are united in bonds of eternal peace. Amen.
Amen. You may be seated. Lodge Squire, will you call the name of our departed member?
Maurice Dominic Cetani. Maurice Dominic Cetani. Dom, please.
In vain we call. He has passed into the light which is beyond the valley of the shadow of death. The places that have known him shall know him no more. And again we realize that in the midst of life, we are in death. That he who watches over all our destinies will again on that last great day unite the chain of fraternal love so recently broken. Lodge Chaplain, in summing up the life's work of our departed member, what shall we make?
I testify to his faithful adherence to the cause of charity. As the just deserve justice, I declare that he was faithful to justice, and by the fraternal ties that bind him to us, pronounce that he is faithful to brotherly love.
We will now have a music selection by Jim Peugeot. Where should we write the faults of our brother?
Upon the sand,
Where should we record his virtues?
on the tablets of love in memory.
What should be the covering for his grave?
The broad mantle of brotherly love.
What is your tribute to our brother? Patriotism.
He who loved his country, flag has not died in vain. The flag is first in our hearts as loyal Americans and guards our altar as loyal elves. May its cluster stars and streaming light guide the immortal soul of our departed member on its journey through eternity.
My friends, the incident of death is no more mysterious than the incident birth. We were born to die, and we die that we may live. This philosophy of human existence remains unchanged throughout the passing centuries. The birth of man does not greatly impress us, but when death invades our ranks, we are appalled. It is not life that causes us to pause, but the loss of it. Likewise, a clinging faith in mortality has been our solace and our inspiration since the first flight that time began. Although a natural and inevitable event, the final summit always comes to those we love with a blow that seems to crush our hearts. We think gentle thoughts, we speak tender words, we halt, we wander, we reason, and with faith we become reconciled as we realize that the loss of life is not the end, but the beginning. We'll now have a eulogy by Mike Swain, and then he will pass around the mic if anybody wishes to eulogize.
So, I'm going to use that one, and then I'll pass this around.
Okay.
Marinus Dom Cetani passed away at the age of 81 on January the 21st, 2021. He was born in Paterson, New Jersey, October the 1st, 1939. To his parents, Nick and Helen Cetani. He was the eldest of 3 children, having a brother, Nick Cetani, and a sister, Lynn Cetani Scharf. He grew up in Hawthorne, New Jersey, and after school, at the age of 17, he joined and served in the U.S. Marines for 1 tour of duty. He worked 47 years as a department head in the motion picture industry in California before retiring to Bullhead City in 2006. He worked on many familiar productions over the years, including the television series MASH for 8 seasons, the motion pictures Titanic, Top Gun, The Fugitive, True Lies, Harry and the Hendersons, The Patriot, Austin Powers 2, Golden Eye, and many, many more, just too many to mention. He traveled the world for his work and was a special consultant in the building of Euro Disney Park in Paris, France for 2 years. After retirement, there was a void in his life, but he found as a new purpose in life when he joined the Elks Lodge. It was a blessing during his retirement years, making new friends, becoming a member of the Gadabouts, and becoming an officer, and eventually becoming our exalted ruler. He was also a member of the Knights of Columbus and St. Margaret's Mary Church. He was a kind and generous friend who loved nothing better than to please people by extravagant ability to cook delicious meals. He always said how much pleasure it gave him to bring people together to share good food and camaraderie. Always ready to cook and entertain, he was happiest in the kitchen. He is survived by his wife of 52 years, Lynn Cetani, his brother Dominic N. Cetani, his 5 children, 3 sons, Dominic Cetani, Michael Cetani, and Marco Cetani. His 2 daughters, Carrie Lynn Farska Mapu and Cheryl Ann Cook. He has 10 grandchildren and 11 great-grandchildren. He had a very rich and varied life with many adventures. Now I know he's up in God's kitchen, and he's probably smiling down on us today. And his brother Nick would like to say a few words.
My name is Nick Cetani, and I want to thank you for allowing me to say a few words today. I remember my brother. I had the pleasure of meeting some of you last year. I'm sure I don't remember everybody or the faces, but it was a great visit, and my wife and I came out and surprised my brother and his wife around New Year's Eve, or after New Year's. Most of you knew my brother Marinas as Dominic. Back in Jersey growing up, we called him Rini. But his friends called him Dominic. He liked Dominic's good name. I can still hear my mother yelling at him for telling his friends to call him Dominic. My father is Dominic, I'm Dominic. It got a little confusing. Italians are, they usually will have another name. But it was, he had a good time with that, and I think they continued on, obviously, the rest of his life. I want to thank you for taking time today to remember and honor my brother. We spend most of our lives at different ends of the country. I grew up in Jersey and obviously grew up for a lot of years here in California. But we had a chance to spend a lot of time together over the years, and we spoke often, and more recently we had lots of good times in Cancun during our family trips there. So we did have a good time. I was 9 years younger than him, and back in Jersey as a 7-year-old, 9 years is a big time. So we didn't spend a lot of time together when we were kids, but I have a few memories, and they're very special memories, and that I'll treasure. And I can remember, my mother wanted him to take me to the barber shop, and I was only about 2 feet tall, and he was about 8 feet tall, at least in my mind. And the mile walk to the barber shop was more of a drag, but he got me there, got me back, but it wasn't one of the things that, as a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, whatever it was at the time, he was happy doing, but it was kind of a fun memory. As a teenager in the 50s, he was a little bit more of a rebel than his younger brother. My father was very strict with him, and I can remember a few times when he wasn't quite living up to my father's rules, and my father certainly let him know about it. So we had kind of a strict upbringing, at least he did. I kind of got away with a lot of stuff when I was younger. But before I knew it, he was at a young age off to join the Marines, as was mentioned in the tribute. I remember him returning from the Marines one year. I don't know if it was on leave or at the end. I was still pretty young. I think I was 8 or 9 years old. And I had just mastered the art of hypnosis. I had Baldwin Rose books that you get in the back of a magazine, and I was sure I knew how to do it. So I asked him if he would be my subject, and he said, sure. So I hypnotized him, watched the sort of pendulum thing. And he sat there patiently, and I did my thing, and I was sure that I had hypnotized him, but he played along very well, and I think he just, let me believe I did, but I'm sure I didn't. Kind of a fun memory, He was like that. So time flew by in those early years, and we each kind of went on our own course. I was busy learning how to play drums and marching in a drum bugle corps. I joined as an 11-year-old, and I'm actually doing it again now in an alumni group. And he was off, being busy with his life and his family and his work and kind of getting his life together. And before I knew it, he was kind of off on a road and embracing his future down the road. Over the early years, he tackled many challenges and always found a way to succeed and keep finding new paths. I always admired his ability to master so many different skills and talents. His talents were so many. Everything he did with a passion, learning more with each venture, whether it was his varied jobs, his career in movie and TV industry, as you've heard, his hobbies, his magic that he did, his crafts, statues, stained glass, roasted nuts that he did for a while. Everything he did with a passion. He really put himself into 100%. No matter what he did, he tackled it that way. And even joining the Elks and other things, he really put his life into it, and he loved what he did here. He loved the camping that he did with many of you folks and his lovely wife, and cooking. When he was in the kitchen, that's where he really shined. So as many of you know, he ultimately spent 47 years in the motion picture industry, and he eventually retired here in Gillette City. And I like to think of him kind of as an American success story. And I think his rise to prominence in the movie industry is a good example of that. You know, and really having no real background as a young guy and getting into it and spending all those years and rising up to that level. Some years ago, many years ago, I was fortunate enough to take a trip with him to Mexico. We went down and visited the site where the Titanic movie was filmed. He took me down there and showed me the site, met some of his friends. We got to stay there a couple days. My first time really seeing Mexico in that way. It was a great trip. And I remember well, and I'll kind of always cherish that as a memory. Yeah, so large family is very important to him, and I know he's very proud of his 3 sons and his stepchildren and his grandchildren and great-grandchildren. It's quite an accomplishment. Of all the milestones, I think, in my brother's life, I think the most significant, I feel, was when he met Lynn, his wife at 52 years. Lynn was a guiding force in his life and the rock upon which he leaned so often. His life and all of our lives were much better with Lynn and I every day, and terrific experience. My brother might have been the captain of the ship, but Lynn was the co-captain and the navigator, I think. Lastly, I want to emphasize his lifelong love of cooking. As you may have seen him so many times in the kitchen, I think you all know him that way. He often discussed his plans with me over the years, even when we were younger, that he wanted to have a restaurant or open a deli of some sort. We never quite got that far, but he really never lost his enthusiasm about being in the kitchen. When he would come back to Jersey to visit, my wife would always make him an apple pie. It was one of his favorites, and they would spend time in the kitchen. I'm not a cook, but they would spend their time there, and he loved it, and she loved having him out there. One of his main passion, I think, was cooking, and everything he did kind of revolved around the kitchen in some way. My wife and children couldn't be here today, but on their behalf, I want to again thank you for taking the time to remember my brother. My wife Donna, my son Anthony, and my daughter Danielle felt he was a big part of their lives as they grew up. And they always speak lovingly about him, and we're sad that they lost him. Anyway, I want to thank you. I will always look up to a brother figuratively and literally. And thank you for the service.
Thank you.
Well, Lynn, this is, when I think of Dom, a lot of adjectives come to mind. And quiet, kind, considerate. He was a good friend, spent a lot of hours in the kitchen with him, learned a lot. Mike mentioned that he's in Heaven's Kitchen, and I'm pretty sure there's probably at least 10 quarts of marinara on the back burner, and he's working his way. He was loved, and we missed him. He worked so hard as exalted ruler. In the worst possible year, you could be an exalted ruler, and he did so much to keep this place alive. Not everything came to fruition, but he brought us through some very tough times, and we will miss him.
Thank you, Willie. My favorite memories of Dom, of course, were in the kitchen. But I'm also reminded of the time that we were at camp out at Quartzsite, and he and Lynn were the sponsors of the trip. And that Saturday morning for the breakfast, we had just about every generator in the park going in order to heat up all of the eggs and bacon and sausages, and just what a gourmet lunch or brunch we had. And it was just so much fun to be with him, work with him in the kitchen, and we will really miss him.
Shortly after Dom and I met, we became friends very quickly. Became a very good friend, and we started to socialize quite a bit. My wife Nancy and Lynn, and Dom and I. Like one time, Dom and Lynn were in West Virginia, and I used to really get aggravated. What are you doing back there again? Come on, stay here. And they would go back anyway. So we called them one time, and they're going to head back, and we said, well, I'll tell you what. Nancy and I will meet you out in New Orleans. They had their fifth wheel, we had ours, and we would camp a while, and then we'd come back. Now, we all know Dom as that quiet, gentle, big guy. I saw another side. You haven't seen, there's something about Dom putting a fifth wheel on the back of his pickup and getting on a freeway with a speed limit is 75 miles an hour, and that's too slow. It was really surprising to us. Right? We knew that when we got on the freeway, boy, we had the eagle eye to follow it. Do you see him? Do you see him? Binoculars out. And there was this one time, I don't even remember where we were. Somewhere, Oklahoma maybe. And it was a 4-lane highway, and then there was a fork going off another direction. And we're following a map and listening to our directions. And it says, go straight. Take the 4-lane, go straight. We're in the far right lane. Dom is doing about 77 miles an hour. And all of a sudden, that fork that was over here, shoo! It scared the heck out of us.
And we saw him going across the bridge.
So we sat there, we went, see ya. We kept going straight, and there we were, somewhere again, I think maybe in Oklahoma. I don't know where they were. And lo and behold, about 10 miles later, here they come, they got up on the off-ramp in front of us, and I thought, are you kidding me? So anyway, that was another exciting part of Dom, and truly will miss him.
Brought us in, and you can ask Marcia, I was a little bit scared about Dom being ER because he was so quiet. I think I've had, before he became ER, maybe 5, 10 conversations with him, but he was so quiet. And I kept telling him, Dom, you gotta talk to people. They gotta know who you are. Well, he told me in no uncertain words, I'm not gonna do that. And I'm not going to come here every day. But he loved the kitchen. I learned a lot from Dom. He wanted to do lunches. He wanted to do dinners. A few of us backed him all the way. Now the first song that Jim sung, My Way, that's his way. He did it that way. I've been sick, so excuse me. He's a good man. He was at my house just a few days.
So when I had to actually put on my first dinner here, I was an officer. It was a luau. And so Don volunteered to help me out right away. And I was going to keep it simple with some kebabs and rice and some fruit. Well, we're not having plain old kebabs, no. We went and got shrimp and all kinds of extra stuff. And he went and bought most of the groceries before I could even do it. I ended up going back to Smart Final to return most of what I thought, because he beat me to it. So anyway, like I said, he never did anything small. He put his heart and soul into everything he did, and he certainly will be missed.
Lucky enough to be recipients of a grant, and we gave a couple of $1,000s to a food bank, and then we went to the Veterans Resource Center. We had a $500 check. And during the giveaway to the food bank, Dom, could you smile? Dom, look this way, Dom. And it was, he just didn't react the way I wanted him to. But getting him to the Veterans Resource Center and choosing a background for this picture, he went, I know, I want to stand in front of the Marine flag. And I got the biggest smile I ever got.
Thank you. Anyone else? Back to you.
Well, we haven't known Dom for a long time. We are certainly privileged to the time that we spent with him. He was such a quiet man, but he was a listener. He knew exactly what people were thinking because he listened and he digested it in his mind. And I'll always remember him as an artist. He was an artist when he cooked. He was an artist in his work. And he was certainly an artist in the artwork that he made and sold nationwide. And I know one thing, we're going to miss him a lot.
Dom and Lynn got to know Marcia and I pretty well. Dom would call and say, Roy, what do I do with this? What do you do with the art? We guided him along and we'd tell him what we thought. And he'd go, okay. And then if he wanted to do something different, he would. So, but at least he asked first. We had dinner with Don and Lynn probably about at Christmas time, 2 weeks before he got sick. We had a wonderful night over there. He really wanted to be ER again this year. He missed out on all the fun that we got to do at national conventions, state conventions, DD clinics. He did get to go to some of the clinics. I said, do you want me to drive, Dom? No. I'll drive. Okay. Off we'd go. Pouring down rain, windshield wipers going, and there goes Dom. So we had a great time, and he will be missed. Brother Dom was an American citizen, responsive to the duty of citizenship and brotherhood. He took his vows before the antler, and he attested to his obligation upon the Holy Bible, the great book of law. He pledged his allegiance to the American flag. True, our brother has journeyed away from us. His dream ship frail and staunch, he has sailed to another shore. The clock of his days has stopped. Upon its dial, the motionless shadow marks 11. With us, the golden hour of recollection. Whatever may have been his accomplishments, we are his treasures. We will cherish his good deeds, forget his faults, and inscribe his name upon the tablet of love and memory. He was true to us. Let us be true to him. Speaking for our fraternal order and our surviving members, I say goodbye. Goodbye until the hour 11 has regularly returned. Thou art I, and I art thou. Thy name shall never be forgotten. Sleep, my brother, and may peace be with you. Please rise.
You have heard the hour of redemption. It is the hour of recollection.
Fellow members and friends, you have heard the tolling of 11 strokes. This is to remind you that with the homecoming of those who wandered, the mystic roll call of those who will come no more. Living or dead, elves are never forgotten, never forsaken. Morning and noon may pass them by. Fellow members, I now ask that you follow me in paying tribute to our departed member by leaving him the last tribute of our order, the tender flower of remembrance, the sweet forget-me-not. Now the golden cord is severed. He has passed to realms on high. Please stand.
In all your wisdom, you have chosen our member to be with you forever in heaven. And we are happy that he shall live in the sunshine of eternal life. Comfort those who mourn with thy unfailing goodness and mercy. Help us in the practice of the benevolent work of our order, and keep us faithful to the principles upon which our fraternity was founded: charity, justice, brotherly love, and fidelity. Grant us thy gracious benediction. Forgive us our trespasses. Protect and defend us against evil. Make us in truth thy children through thy redeeming grace and power. Amen.
I now declare this Lodge of Sorrow closed. Before you leave, I'd like to introduce the participating members. Past PER, Margaret Lopez. PER Terry Frank as chaplain. Music by Jim Peugeot. Eulogy by Mike Swain. I am Roy Hattie, past District Deputy Grand Exalted Ruler. Lunch will be served, I don't know if they're here yet. We should thank Nick Cetani. He provided the meal that we're about to have. And it's in Dom's memory, and guess what? It's Italian. Thanks, Nick. And that's it. Thank you for coming.
I don't carry a purse.
Yeah, that's what everybody does.
I told Nana, I said, I don't think anyone recognizes me. It's okay. That's okay. I know, it was a wee little one. It's okay, no worries. Not easy.
You did well. You did really well.
Lots of time. Nick, maybe Carrie?
Yeah, it's all set. You just have to push photo.
I just wanted to stand here.
Move in just a little. Oh, that one's much better. Much better. We'll take another one. Check and see if they're to your liking.
I'll check. He'll all be gone. They're like, I was awful that I'm gonna go see if my coffee is still alive. That's a nice coffee. Probably. I saw you. See, maybe it'll still taste good. Check. just really
Is it true his ashes are in there?
Yes, that's the middle circle.
That's incredible. That is just incredible.
Isn't that nice?
The light is only there.
Yeah, the light's there.
That is so beautiful.
And then his ashes are in the center, and then they have the colors swirling around. My sister said she really loved it because it looks like.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I love, my daughter made one for me when I wore it all the time. I wore one next to one, and then so then she gave me another one for my birthday. You know, so it's like, it's just going voice like this.
Yeah, I know.
No.
Yeah, it is. I think it's wonderful to do it, you know.
She's the one. I didn't want to look at you.
She's losing it every 5 seconds.
Yeah.
Every 5 seconds she's losing it. And I just have to reach out. When she first came in, I told her, I said, we're making a deal. You start finding out, right? You're going yeah, I'm going to
Hi, Lynn. You know how much Monty and I love you and Dom and how much we're going to miss them. You know, we love you guys so much. We're going to miss Dom so very much. But, we'll visit, you and I, right? We're still on for our next vacation. Love you, Lynn.
Lynn, we're really going to miss Dom. We hope that you continue to come on our camp outs. Dom and I, for the short period of time we knew each other, being fellow Marines, really got along.
Yeah, I miss Dom so much, and I love you with all my heart. I'm always here for you, my friend. See you.
Hi, Lynn. We're gonna miss Dom a whole heck.
Hi, Lynn. I'm so sorry. We love you. Hope to see you on some of our campouts, but we'll push hard. When you're ready, let me know, and we'll go.